Wes Anderson is here. His new film is The Fantastic Mr. Fox. It is based on Roald Dahl's children's book of the same name. Here is the trailer. The Fantastic Mr. Fox is Anderson's first animated film. It was made with stop-motion animation, the same technology used to bring King Kong to life on the screen in the 1930s. Wes Anderson used some 500 puppets, 150 sets, and 4,000 props. Through elaborate set designs, offbeat soundtracks, and portrayal of quirky, flawed characters, Anderson has established himself as one of the cinema's most recognizable auteurs. Martin Scorsese said he has a, quote, very special kind of talent. He knows how to convey the simple joys and interactions between people so well and with such richness. This kind of sensibility is rare in movies. I'm pleased to have Wes Anderson back at this table. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
I mean, you are it's just rolling in all over you, isn't it?
I don't know. This one has actually been great. I really enjoyed making this movie, and you know, it feels like an animated. It's great to have an animated movie to show to an audience to go to screening, because afterwards you get 9-year-olds coming up to you and discussing the techniques and their feelings about it, and that hasn't happened for me.
So, what first got you to The Fantastic Mr. Fox?
Well, it's a book I read as a child. Maybe it's the first book that was technically considered my property in our household. Has my name on it, and I've loved it all my life. You know, I have the same copy that I had when I was a kid, and I've kept it on my shelves wherever I've lived. And at a certain point, I decided I wanted to work in stop motion, which is like a very old-fashioned kind of a filmmaking technique. But I wanted to do a stop-motion movie with fur. Puppets with fur,
Yes.
And that was literally my thing I wanted to do, and this is the right book for that.
Did you had some operative idea about making an animated film?
I didn't really know that much about the process, and I just knew I liked the way it looked in movies, and I liked the textures of it, and I had no idea how I was going to go about it, and I learned.
Yeah, well, the author's wife had rejected other filmmakers.
That's probably true.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
But I've been told that, yeah.
Yeah, that probably is right, because they're very careful with the Dahl stories. You know, they have control over them. But in fact, she was so... not only did I really enjoy her when I first met her, and they let me do it, but she also invited me to his house, which is called Gypsy House, and we ended up writing part of the script there, and really the movie kind of transitioned from being an adaptation of this Dahl book into being about Dahl in general.
What did you keep in and what did you leave out? I mean, how do you build from this book into this movie?
I knew we were going to have to expand the book significantly because it's very short. So I had an idea for a sort of first chapter. But I asked Noah Baumbach to work on the script with me, and as we got going, we just sort of started dreaming up new characters and new ideas for scenes. But it was always our guiding principle that we were pretending to be Roald Dahl.
Right.
So everything
it is a homage to Roald Dahl.
It is homage to Roald Dahl, and we just kept saying that, you know, what might he do here, and you know, this idea, does it feel like Dahl? And that was just, which was actually a great luxury for us, because, you know, we both love his work, and this was a chance to kind of pretend we were him.
And choosing voices.
Yes. Yeah. You know, it's funny, while we were writing, we thought of animals. We never thought about casting. Yeah. And it was only when it was done, and we said, okay, well, what do we do now? We're going to have to record somebody saying this.
They have to talk.
Somebody's got to say these words. And I had this thought that that we ought to have the heroic heroic actor that we could think of. Who was the most heroic in this moment? And that seemed like George Clooney to me. He seemed
like
a
heroic voice.
Yes, but I didn't even think about his voice. I just thought about him, and that he seemed like in a movie you really believe he is the guy who can do these things. And it was only after we then recorded everybody on a farm in Connecticut all together. We sort of did a documentary recording of the cast,
right.
And we had Bill Murray up there. And the animators, you know, you record the voices first. The animators take their inspiration inspiration from the voices, and they, you know, that gave us something great to work with.
And Meryl, same thing?
Meryl, I recorded with her in Paris alone in a studio, and in a great big studio where an orchestra usually works. We made a little living room in the middle of it, and we spent a day there. And in her case, it was me and her. It was the two of us playing all the scenes together, and I'm sure. Well, I think it's safe to say I will never again have the opportunity to act opposite Meryl Streep.
Yeah, exactly.
So
take advantage.
It was great fun. And the other thing was she played it more emotionally than I had anticipated, and it was just better. And as soon as she started doing it, even right there in the moment, I started thinking, this is the way the rest of the movie needs to be shaped. I'm going to need some other moments to match this level. So in some ways, it was like, you know.
And how did you find those moments?
The great thing with an animated movie is you basically make the movie in pencil drawings first. And as you're slowly shooting it, you can rewrite things and you can add things, and I just wrote new moments for the other characters to kind of go with where we were with her.
Now, there, Mr. Fox, and we're going to see a scene in a moment, assembles his master plan. Is that a bit of an Ocean's 11 kind of thing?
It's definitely caper stuff.
It's
definitely
stuff.
caper.
Well, when you think caper, there you go, right?
Yeah.
And you got you've got George, and there it is.
Yeah.
All right, roll tape. This is scene one. Here it is. Did they do these voices in one take or two takes, or is this like many takes? Because
well, it's funny because really what you're recording is a rehearsal. You know, they're standing there with the pages in their hands, and you can do as many takes as you want, and it can happen very, very quickly.
Right.
You know, you can record 30 pages in a day. So it's really all about capturing spontaneity. Recording these voices. That's what I found, anyway.
Now, there are those critics who look at this and they all saying wonderful things about you, but some are saying this is somehow a comeback for you. They look at the last two movies and they say, he's caught his wind again. You have any sense of that?
Well, you know, I definitely have a sense of, you certainly do these movies, you spend years. I say let's say one.
Right.
Spends many years making one of these movies, and you know, for me, these are I've made personal films that kind of are my whole life when I'm making the movie, and but you just have no idea until the day until the day people start reviewing it, or the day it comes out in the theaters, what the response is going to be. And I sort of feel the same way about all my movies. You know, they're all I cannot disassociate myself in any way. They're like my family members. What I like is not having a miserable season of having a movie that's not going over. You know, when people are liking it, it's, you know, it's just, you have a nicer time.
Was there any particular reason you decided to go animation?
Not really. You know, it was 10 years ago that I first started working on this, so it was really just that it finally got done. It sort of made its way to the screen. But it wasn't. It was, you know, it was just something I'd always wanted to do. I would do it again. I enjoyed it so much. I would like to do another.
Show me Mr. Fox.
Yes, I have.
You brought him with you.
I happen to have him right here. Yeah. So this is the movie.
Mr. Fox.
Most of the movie is animated with puppets like this, which the animators move just one bit at a time.
Right.
And you know, they can. You know, the arm. You know. They're different. It'll take a different number of frames for how fast they're going to move.
Right.
But this is essentially what the movie is acted by these.
Right.
There are probably 18 of these, and we would have many units working simultaneously, each with a different animator doing a shot. And then also there are other puppets that are where Mr. Fox would be, say, this tall for wider shots, and then some that are, you know, like this for very wide landscapes. We have these little tiny ones with wire skeletons, and they're, you know, it's just sort of like a technique for communicating different scales.
So when you're working on something for 10 years, what are you doing? You sort of occasionally visit it, you're doing other films, you come back to it, you advance the ball for those 10 years?
Over the 10 years there, you know, I made a couple other movies, and every now and then Noah Baumbach and I would get together and talk about this script. But once we really settled into doing it, you know, there were the 2 solid years of where this is a full-time job.
Right.
A year of preparing it and designing the puppets and getting everything kind of sorted out, and then a year of shooting. You know, a solid year to shoot it. But it's interesting. Like with a live-action movie, you the day is a series of shots in sequence. We're going to shoot this shot, and then this shot, and then this shot. As quickly as we can, we're going to get from one to the next, and then the sun is going to go down, and that's the day.
Right.
With a movie like this, there are 30 shots, all happening at once, and other sets being designed and lit, and puppets being built, and the movie being edited, and storyboards being drawn simultaneously. And my day is moving back and forth among all these things continuously throughout the day, and not really ending up finishing anything.
You also have the advantage of a movie like this can appeal to all ages too.
Yes, which you know, we started the movie with thinking of the movie as a children's story. In the end, I think we didn't really think about that while we were writing it. We just thought about what would be funny and what would be emotional or engaging, and so I think in the end, it's exactly as much a children's movie or an adult's movie. It's no more one or the other, and I like that. You know, I definitely enjoy having children responding to something I'm doing. It's really fun. I mean, I've had children who ask me, who want to know technical things because they're making their own animated films right now, and they're having some problems. And you know, I've actually introduced them. The other day, I introduced a kid to my producer to help him sort out a camera problem he was having at home. He was 9.
When you look at this, and then look all the way back to some of the early films that you did, from Bottle Rocket, say, do you see some evolution going on here? Can you see a continuum, a linear continuum of some kind?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't really, because I only operate on, here's the thing that I'm going to put all my every second of thought into for the next couple of years, and then I'm on to the next one. But what I do see is that I have a group of people that I've kind of managed to work with in different forms over and over again, and I have a kind of movie-making family, and I certainly have developed some styles with the way we work, that I've figured out how to work the way I want to work, and not necessarily the way that I was, that it's usually done.
And what way is that?
Well, for instance, with this film, for instance, the way we recorded the voices is not the way that, usually it is all done in the studio, and the idea of kind of having everybody go to summer camp together and record a movie, it's not usually the way they do it.
Exactly.
And the way I directed this film, I only spent about 1 week a month on the set in London. The rest of the time, I was in other places, often in Paris, with my editorial team and my storyboard artists, and a computer system that we set up so I could look through each camera on the set. And that's the way I directed the movie. I mean, it's a bit different than a live-action movie because things are just happening one frame at a time. It's so slow that you can't observe each thing happening at once. You've got to move among all the things. But it was just the way I liked doing it, and I felt that I could see everything I needed to see.
You preferred it because of its slowness?
No, I preferred it because it let me look at more things in the course of the day than I could any other way. I could just electronically move from set 22 to set 19 to set 12A, and I'd talk on the phone, and I'd talk on email, and I had a staff with me, but it was sort of like a command center.
Salinger, J.G. Salinger, had a big influence on you?
Yes, he did. In some ways, I feel like he made me want to be a writer. One of the films that I made, the Royal Tenenbaums, is that's very much inspired by his work, his Glass family stories, he's always been a real favorite of mine.
Have you ever tried to meet him?
No, but I feel like in some ways I moved to New York in part because of Salinger.
The impression of you in terms of the way you handle yourself and the way you dress and all, or the way that Mr. Fox is dressed, is a kind of a dandy. Does that sit comfortably with you?
It's fine with me. I mean, you know, I mean, I definitely take a moment to. I would say this. This wasn't the first necktie I put on this morning.
Is that right?
You know, I mean,
See, that's
took a couple
perfectly
of
said.
tries.
That's perfectly said. You know, you thought about it, and this was not the one. This was the third choice. It worked. This worked because
it was, in fact, the third choice today. Well, because I changed my sweater.
Yeah.
That's why. That's why.
This is great. Now, how many wardrobes do you have? I mean, like, are you a clothes horse, as they say?
Not really, because I don't. You know, I've been wearing this same thing every day for the last month, ever since I got it. Yeah. I don't.
Oh, when you get something you like, you really give it a wear.
I wear it until it starts to come apart. But I do have. But you know, I guess I like certain colors and things like that.
Now, do you see that in your movies too? The same thing that you have about clothes, is it in your movies?
Yes, I think so. I think it would have to be.
And how would you describe that?
Well, I think it's that I'm definitely somebody who likes things. There are parameters to what works for me visually. Right. To what I feel is, you know, I definitely like things that I would never do, but for my own self and for my own work, there's really only this range. You know, this range. I feel like I've tried lots of different things in that range, but there's a certain point at which it's not my personality anymore. I think the parameters probably can change and shift and slide or something in time, but I don't want to do something that doesn't feel true to myself, I guess.
You also love peanuts.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out. See, I'm going through this clothes, peanuts, Salinger, just to sort of figure out
what goes
into profile of Wes Anderson.
No, that's interesting. The in a way, because actually, sometimes people ask me, "What is your style?" And I say, I don't have the slightest idea. You know, this movie is supposed to be Roald Dahl. That's what this one is. It's not me. It's Dahl. But then, if you bring up these things, I think it starts to bring it into focus for me. You know, Peanuts. I always loved those the comic strip, but especially the Christmas special, which that one little 24 minutes or whatever it is something that's had a real effect on me. The mood of that program, the writing is so good, the visuals are unique, and there's the most beautiful music in it.
And you also like Hal Ashby.
Yes, I love Hal Ashby.
Called some of the best films ever made, you've said.
I think so, yeah. I mean, there's, you know, Harold and Maude and Shampoo and Last Detail.
I didn't realize Hal Ashby made Shampoo. Yeah.
Yes. Shampoo is one of his best. The Last Detail might be my favorite of his films. The Jack Nicholson and Robert Towne script.
The sailor was being taken back to trial or something.
That's right. It's Randy Quaid.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And
then what did you like about that? The sort of pacing of it.
That one, you know, I love Jack Nicholson's character. It's a great script. Randy Quaid's also great. But there's something about, you know, it takes place in a short time span. There's not much plot. I don't know if you even call that a plot. They have one thing to do: take the prisoner from here to there, and it's episodic along the way. But something about the snow and the look of it and the bleakness of it it was very moving.
You said once Jim Brooks.
Yes.
Was probably the biggest influence.
Well, yes, Jim Brooks. The first film that I made, Owen Wilson and I had written Bottle Rocket, and Jim gave us the chance to make the film. It wasn't just that that Jim gave us the best chance to make the film. Jim was absolutely the only person in the world who was prepared to give us even $1,000 to work on the movie. After our fathers had given us a couple thousand each, we were out, and that was but Jim actually was able to offer us a Columbia Pictures budget and $5 million to make the movie, and a course in movie making. You know, he spent time with us and helped us to make the script something that really worked as a feature film, and taught me about editing and what to do with a character when you're telling a story, and how to reach out to an audience.
This sounds like a huge case of believing in you at the time. I mean,
For
you had
some
no track
reason,
record. You had nothing.
We had nothing. Yeah, he just he picked us. You know, there's also two people who work with him, Polly Platt and Richard Sakai.
Right.
For some reason, these people. They chose us, and if that hadn't happened, you know, I don't think I would have had the chance to make a movie.
You think that, or somebody else would have come along to give you the same break?
I think I would have been. No, I don't think someone would have come along. No, I think I would have probably scrambled my way to some other thing.
Level, yeah.
But the movies I've made really are possible because of that moment, that choice of Jim Brooks.
I like this so much, I'm going to show two more clips. Let's see the next clip. The voice of the coach was Owen Wilson.
That's Owen, yeah.
How long have you guys been friends?
Let's see, since we met in, I guess, '88, maybe? Best friends for all these years. And, you know, we've worked together, I don't know how many times, on basically every movie.
So what is it?
Well, you know, we actually had a class together in school. Yes. where we, you know, a small class, like 9 students, and everyone sat around this table, except I sat in one corner of the room and Owen sat in another corner. There were 2 people in the class who did not bother to sit, did not want to sit at the table, and I remember thinking, well, who does this guy think he is not sitting at the table? But I was actually doing the same thing. I kind of thought, is he copying me?
Right.
And we never spoke the whole time. But the next, when we went back the next semester, the first day he walked up to me in the corridor and asked me which creative writing class we should take, and I said, oh, you're from the thing? He said, yeah. But he acted like we were already friends because we had silently sat there in the room together for a semester, and then we were. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Charlie.
It's great to see you again.
Thanks for having me back.
Fantastic Mr. Fox, getting great reviews. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.